She was born in Monaghan Island, a quiet, mist-covered town wrapped in the green folds of the countryside. It was the kind of place where everyone knew your name, where stories were whispered across kitchen tables, and where time itself seemed to breathe slowly, like the fog rolling gently across the meadows at dawn. In Monaghan, dreams rarely left the ground. People were content with simplicity, a steady job, a warm hearth, a Sunday at church, a pint at the local pub. But for Caitriona, the stillness of that life felt like a cage made of kindness. From a young age, she was different. She wasn't loud or rebellious or wild, she was curious. While other girls talked about dances and dresses, she found herself lost in books, drawn to stories about faraway cities. Paris, Milan, New York places that glimmered in her imagination like unreachable stars. At night, she would stand by her window, the glass cold beneath her fingers, and watch the distant lights of airplanes passing through the Irish sky. She would count them, whispering each time, "One day I'll be somewhere out there." Her family didn't quite understand. To them, modeling or acting wasn't a real future, it was fantasy. Her father, a retired Garda sergeant, wanted stability for his daughter. Her mother hoped she'd stay close, maybe become a teacher, maybe marry someone from town. But Caitriona's heart was already running ahead of her, chasing something she couldn't name. At school, she was quiet, but teachers remembered her intensity. When she looked at you, she listened, really listened, as if she was trying to learn the shape of the world through your words. She joined drama clubs, not because she wanted attention, but because she felt alive, pretending to be someone else. In those small moments on the stage of her local community center, she discovered the first flicker of a truth that would follow her forever, that stories could save people, that pretending could be another form of being. By 17, she knew she couldn't stay. She began saving what little she could from odd jobs, working in a cafe, babysitting for neighbors, selling old clothes in the weekend market. Every coin was a step closer to somewhere else. The night before she left, she packed her things quietly. Just one small suitcase, a few dresses, a worn leather journal, and a folded letter from her mother, who, though heartbroken, had written simply, "Follow the sky if it calls your name." At 18, Caitriona boarded a bus to Dublin, her first journey alone. From there, she took a flight to Paris, a leap into the unknown. She didn't have a plan, not really. Just a few pounds in her pocket, a fire in her chest, and a heart that refused to be ordinary. As the plane rose above the green fields of Ireland, she looked down one last time at the land that had shaped her. The hills, the rivers, the home that had both nurtured and confined her, and she whispered into the roaring air, "I'll make it, somehow." No one on that flight knew it then, but that quiet Irish girl staring out the window would one day become the face of a legend, a woman who carried both the grace of her homeland and the ache of every dreamer who ever dared to leave it behind. Paris, the city of lights, of art, of dreams. But for Caitriona Balfe, when she first arrived, it was a city of silence. A city too big, too fast, too indifferent to notice a girl with an Irish accent and a borrowed coat. The glamour she imagined was nowhere to be found. There were no champagne parties or golden runways waiting for her. Only long casting lines that stretched around corners, cold-eyed photographers, and rooms filled with girls who looked like perfection carved from marble. She was told to lose weight, to change her hair, to smile differently. Be mysterious, they said one day. Be sexy, they said the next. Each word chipped away at something inside her until the girl who once whispered to the stars began to doubt if she still belonged among them. Yet Caitriona didn't give up. She learned to survive in the rhythm of the city. Cheap coffee in the morning subway rides to castings, and late nights staring at the ceiling of her small rented room, wondering if anyone would ever see her for who she really was. Her break came slowly, almost silently. A modeling scout noticed her on the street one rainy afternoon. Her look, ethereal, intelligent, and quietly haunting, stood out amid the noise of the city. Soon she was walking for brands she'd only seen in magazines: Chanel, Dior, Balenciaga. From Paris to Milan to New York, she became the face photographers wanted, not loud, not flamboyant, but elegant in the way silence can be beautiful. But fame in the fashion world comes with a cost. Behind the lights, there were empty hotel rooms and sleepless nights. Airports blurred together. Cities lost their meaning. She was admired everywhere, but known nowhere. She learned to smile for the camera while feeling invisible, to stand perfectly still while chaos swirled around her. She was surrounded by beauty, yet she felt lonelier than ever. Once, during a late-night flight from Milan to Tokyo, she sat by the window, watching the dark clouds below. The plane lights reflected in her eyes, and for a moment, she saw her own reflection, tired, distant, almost unrecognizable. And she thought, is this really the dream I chased, or just another cage, gilded and cold? Years passed in a blur of photo shoots, flights, and faces she couldn't remember. But deep inside, something in her refused to die, that same spark from Monahan, the quiet fire that once whispered, "There's more." And so she began to listen again, not to the demands of the fashion world, but to the small, stubborn voice inside her that said, "You were meant to tell stories, not just wear them." That realization, small, almost imperceptible, became her turning point. She didn't know it yet, but life was already preparing to lead her toward the role that would change everything, toward a set in the Scottish Highlands and a time-traveling story that would finally allow her to be seen. Los Angeles, sunlight palms, endless auditions. But for Caitriona Balfe, after years in fashion, this city felt like starting again from zero. She was no longer the face of luxury brands. She was just another unknown woman sitting in casting rooms with fluorescent lights and nervous energy. Her savings were fading. Her confidence too. She was 33 in age, the industry often called too late. Yet something inside her kept whispering, it's never too late to begin again. She had traded designer runways for cramped waiting rooms, flashing smiles for cold script readings, and photographers for casting directors who barely looked up when she entered the room. Sometimes, she'd leave an audition walk down the street and wonder if she had made a mistake, if she had walked away from stability into another kind of invisibility. Then one afternoon, her agent called. A TV show. A period drama. Shooting in Scotland. The role, a 1940s nurse who accidentally travels back in time to the 18th century. The name, Claire Fraser. At first, she didn't dare to hope. The project sounded huge, too huge for someone with no acting credits. But when she read the script, something happened. The words didn't just stay on the page, they lived inside her. Claire's courage, her compassion, her defiance. It all felt familiar, as if Caitriona had been waiting her whole life to play her. When she auditioned, the director watched her in silence. No theatrics, no glamour, just truth. And when she finished, there was a long pause. Then the words that would change everything. We found our Claire. No one could have predicted what came next. Outlander wasn't just another TV show, it was a phenomenon. A story that transcended time, history, and language. And at its center was Caitriona, the woman who once felt invisible, now illuminating screens across the world. But fame came quickly, almost too quickly. Suddenly she was everywhere: interviews, red carpets, magazine covers. People praised her as a revelation, a star born overnight. Yet behind the applause, there was pressure. Every take, every scene, every emotion had to be perfect. There were days she'd come home after filming, too exhausted to even take off her makeup. Days when the Scottish rain soaked through her costume and she'd look out over the misty highlands, whispering, "Claire, how do you keep going?" Because in a way, Claire Fraser became more than a role. She became Caitriona's mirror. Both women were strong but vulnerable, brave but haunted. Both were caught between worlds: duty and desire, career and love, reality and dreams. The loneliness of fame began to echo again. Her days were filled with voices, cameras, scripts. But her nights were quiet. Sometimes too quiet. She once said in an interview, "Playing Claire taught me what love costs and what it saves." And maybe that's why fans connected with her so deeply. Because when Caitriona cried on screen, she wasn't acting. She was remembering every sleepless night, every moment she doubted herself, every goodbye whispered on airport runways, every time she wondered if she'd ever find a place or a person to truly call home. But through Outlander, she found something rare: not just success, but purpose. For the first time, her art wasn't about appearances. It was about truth. And in telling Claire's story of love that endures, time of courage, born from pain, Caitriona found her own reflection. She once said softly in a behind-the-scenes clip, "Claire helped me heal parts of myself I didn't even know were broken." And that's when the invisible girl from Monaghan finally became visible, not for her beauty or fame, but for her heart. Fame doesn't arrive with fireworks. It creeps in quietly, like fog after rain. One day, Caitriona woke up and the world suddenly knew her name. Her face was on billboards, in interviews, on every streaming platform. She had become not just an actress, but a symbol. People loved Claire Fraser, and by extension they loved Caitriona. But that love was a strange one. It came from strangers she'd never meet, and it demanded something from her, a version of perfection no human could ever keep. The more the world adored her, the lonelier she felt. She was praised for her strength, her poise, her timeless grace. But inside, she often felt like a shadow, trying to keep up with the image others had built for her. Behind the camera flashes, there were nights of silence. Hotel rooms that smelled like other people's memories. Awards that glittered but couldn't keep her warm. And a heart that still longed not for applause, but for connection. There was someone, once a man, who saw her before the world did. He wasn't from Hollywood. He didn't speak in red carpet language. He knew her as Caitriona, not Claire. They shared quiet moments cooking together, walking in the rain, laughing about small things that didn't matter to anyone else. But fame changes everything, not just for the famous, but for those who love them. Her schedule grew impossible. Her life became airports and scripts premieres and interviews, and slowly, the laughter faded into phone calls, the phone calls into texts, and the texts into silence. In one rare interview, when asked about her greatest fear, she paused, then smiled gently and said, losing the ability to be present with someone who matters. It wasn't about career burnout or fame fatigue. It was about that ache, the quiet human ache of realizing that the higher you climb, the smaller the world becomes around you. Sometimes, after long days of filming, she'd return to her trailer, sit in front of the mirror and stare at her reflection, the makeup, the costume, the lights. Then she'd whisper softly, "Who are you?" when the camera stops rolling. She missed Ireland, the wind, the simplicity, the smell of rain on old stone. She missed laughter that wasn't scripted, and love that didn't need to be hidden behind headlines. But life, in its strange poetry, always finds a way to circle back. On one quiet evening in Scotland during a charity event, she crossed paths again with an old friend, someone who reminded her of who she was before all this began. They talked for hours, not about fame or work, but about childhood, family books, and silence. And for the first time in a long while, Caitriona felt seen. No cameras, no scripts, no roles. Just two people sharing a conversation that felt like home. After that night, she began to change little things. She turned off her phone during breakfast. She started painting again, small sketches of skies and faces. She spent weekends in the countryside where no one called her Claire, just Kate. She learned that success means nothing if you lose yourself in it. That love, real love, is not about grand gestures, but quiet presence. And that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is choose peace over applause. She once wrote in her journal, "The world may know my face, but only a few will ever know my heart." And that's enough. Those who worked with her noticed the difference. There was still the same fire in her eyes, but it had softened into warmth, not ambition. A quiet kind of strength, the kind that comes when you finally made peace with both your past and your pain. And though Caitriona never spoke openly about the choices she made, the loves she lost, or the roads she didn't take, there was something in her gaze during later interviews that said it all. She had chosen life, not performance. She had chosen truth, not image. And perhaps, somewhere beyond the cameras, she had chosen love. As the last light fades over the misty highlands, Sam Howhan turns off his phone and steps out into the silence. The wind carries the faint echo of laughter of memories that once felt eternal. For the first time in years, he isn't thinking about Scripps Awards or red carpets. He's thinking about what truly lasts moments, people. The quiet warmth of being remembered for who you are, not just what you've done. Somewhere in that stillness, a new chapter waits. One not written by Hollywood, but by life itself. And maybe, just maybe, that's the story Sam has been searching for all along.